Thanks for joining us again on the Get Lit podcast here at Southern Lighting Solutions. Trying something a little bit different today.
We're standing up today.
We are standing up today. And, want to change it up for you guys out there in the audience, trying a few things differently as we work through sound, video. Now we're standing.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep it real for you guys. Now, of course, if you're listening, this means nothing to you. So I hope that the sound, which is all you hear, is perfect. At any rate, today, as we mentioned last week, we're going to be talking about residential lighting. It's amazing because you say residential lighting and we kind of can touch all of it. We can touch the design portion, the fixture portion, things like efficiency. All that stuff is available to us and we can help individuals or even, hopefully in a lot of cases, maybe people, home builders that have a lot of homes coming out.
Yeah.
And so first, let's talk a little bit about some of the fixtures we have for residential. We'll actually be doing a workbench with Monument later. It's kind of a garage type light, something that you can use.
It's an industrial bathroom.
Right.
Industrial light, yeah.
But it has some uses in residential. So you got a problem? You got a problem? For those of you that are listening, we have a banner in the recording studio, and it and Tarek are not getting along very well.
I kind of knocked it, so it's sort of tilting over here. And yeah.
Why would you do that, Tarek? What did it do to you?
I don't know. It's been an interesting day.
I'll sit here and hold it like a flag. Anyway, again, my name is McHugh David, co-founder of Southern Lighting Solutions, here with Tarek. So first, let's talk about fixtures. Some of the fixtures we have to offer that do have a residential application. Some are just residential, but others.
Yeah, I mean, all lights can be used in a residential application for the most part. Yeah, he just cut me off.
Yeah, he was not standing.
I was not standing in front of the mic. Yeah, where I should be. So yeah, a lot of fixtures they can be used in residential applications because they're downlights.
Sure.
Whether over here in the US it's a can light or abroad just a regular downlight. They can be used in an office. They can be used in a museum. They can be used in a house. So I mean, just the family itself, we have lots of applications. So we do have a couple ranges here at Southern Lighting. We have our simple can replacements, which go into existing houses which have retrofits where they don't have the ability to really go in and change out the entire fixtures. And this is really with a lot of older houses,
right?
That you see. You see with a few of the more modern houses that are being built, we're able to not use can lights and just introduce normal downlights with the proper junction boxes, etc., and just go right in there.
Sure.
You have your more architectural lights, which are your 2-inch, 4-inch, 3-inch. We even have a 1-inch light.
Right. Which is 1 watt, but it puts out an amazing amount of light.
Yeah. It's a fantastic product.
There's even strip applications.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, strip lighting to be used in hidden coves, under cabinets, in your joinery if you have any custom cabinetry or just regular cabinetry which can be modified.
Right, and I want to clarify. This is not that strip that your kid ordered off of Amazon. That's just, it looks like a circuitry board. I am holding it.
You could probably leave it, but yeah.
I just didn't want it to attack you,
No, it's fine.
But, a big trend right now is a lot of these kids want the RGB strip, which is the multicolor strip. It can switch colors.
Sure.
They like it on their wall, but it just looks like someone cut up a circuit board, threw it up all over the wall.
Yeah, well, that's where we get into the use of profiles. And, while we only make, very specific kinds of profiles because that's really what is required, we do have the ability and we do have the relationships with manufacturers that make hundreds of kinds of profiles. I mean, if there's a profile, it's out there. There's a solution for it. We have access to it.
Right. And of course, Southern Lighting Solutions. Haha, he
solutions.
Said it.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that's the idea, is that we're here to find a solution for you. We also have, it's kind of neat, and it would have a lot of different applications. It's a specific thing that I'm going to bring up, but we actually have bendable profiles for strip that are IP67.
Yes, they can be. So you're talking about, so it's actually strip light, which is silicone encased or polyurethane encased. It's
Right.
IP68. It can be 67, it can be 68. So it's fully submersible. You know,
Okay.
it's good for pool applications. We won't get too technical, but there's some with various coatings on it, which are marine grade. So, you know, anyone out there with a saltwater pool needs some strip light in it, we got a solution for you.
Or a large aquarium.
Or a large aquarium.
At a restaurant. Now, that's
Yeah.
commercial, and we'll get to that next week.
Sure.
But want to stick with the residential. So we've talked a little bit about, you know, a lot of people have seen the can lights. We do have an LED sort of replacement for that.
Sure.
We've talked about strip. We also talked about the batten, which could go in a garage or a porch type
absolutely.
area, something like that.
Yeah, it would be more of a garage type area, a workshop type area if you have anything like that. That's, you know, where you would really put such an item.
Sure. And then we also talked about in your higher end homes, we do have a lot of architectural options that can show off bookshelves, artwork.
Oh yeah, or just if you want light to be there but be completely inconspicuous.
Right.
You know, it's available. I mean, each one has its own spectrum. And going back to what you were saying earlier about, you know, kids with RGB lights. Yeah, absolutely. We have RGB lights. We have addressable RGB lights, which can, you know, dance to music if you want.
Right.
Just comes down to the software controlling it.
And we've recently gotten to a partnership with an electrical company that could do that. So,
absolutely.
Now, one of the interesting things about those strips, excuse me, I should have drank some water before we started this. It's a little cold outside. One of the things that's interesting about those profiles within which we can put strip is that they come in a multitude of colors, but it's usually pretty clear, right? So you could put it, as you said, inconspicuously around the room or wherever in a cabinet or something.
I mean,
it's something that's not going to look like a series of microchips just scattered all across the wall.
No, I mean, obviously, when you put the profile, there's a diffuser. You know, if it's in an area which is completely hidden, we can use a clear diffuser.
Right.
If it's somewhere which is more exposed, we use a frosted diffuser.
Right.
Just so you don't see those actual dots. And even then, depending on the application of the strip, the power of the strip, you might need a slightly deeper profile. Chips which output, you know, for example, a 14.4 watt per meter strip as opposed to a 4.8 watt per meter strip needs a bigger profile, because if you use the same chip profile and it's exposed, you will see the dots.
Right.
There's no getting around that.
Right.
So use a deeper profile, which might be a quarter of an inch deeper than the lower wattage one.
Okay.
So it just hides the dot. Same application.
Right. And the big thing about, you know, when you're looking at, say, older homes or homes that are still using incandescent bulbs, or maybe even still using bulbs and LED bulbs, which we discussed last week, you know, one of the interesting things about upgrading to LED is that it's the cleanliness of the light.
Yes, it is absolutely the cleanliness. It's a crisper color. It's clear, but there's also one more thing which is just as important with energy savings that people don't talk about. And we love to reiterate over and over, especially, and guys, if you don't have a budget to do major stuff, that's fine. You know, you can start with basic LED bulbs. You can do the fixtures and whatnot. But guys, I'll say this. In the summer, let me tell you, when it comes to switching from incandescent or, you know, fluorescent, which still gives off a certain amount of heat, and you switch to LED, a direct saving is the fact you don't need to use the air conditioner as much.
Right.
They don't emit heat downwards.
Right.
It goes back into the wall, into the ceiling, into the air with all the insulation that's available to you. I mean, you have it. It is a 100% absolute advantageous direct savings there.
Right.
With air conditions. And while people may not be sure about this, let me tell you, having worked in Saudi Arabia and Dubai and the Middle East for years and years, 100%, when it's 120 Fahrenheit outside, if you have halogens on, it's terrible. You switch to LED, your air condition comes down.
Right.
You don't have to use it as much. You don't have to use it as long. And there's direct 100% correlation and savings.
Right. And we talked a little bit last week about energy efficiency of fixtures and that sort of thing. And you said, and I want to bring this up in the residential portion, because it tends to be that people would budget out room by room. And they might try to, you know, do the living room first or the bathroom first and then move out. one of the things about these fixtures is, yes, on an individual basis, they are usually more efficient and going to cost you less, especially since they don't produce as much heat. But in a home, you're going to see the biggest bang for your buck when you replace most, if not all, of your fixtures.
Correct. I mean, another, thing that you see a change, if outside, one thing we have here in this house, we have bugs. In the north, we have bugs. I mean, it's if you're like me, they're attracted to my blood for whatever reason. It's exotic for, the North American mosquitoes. Anyways, if you have an LED light and look at it, if you go to a parking lot or an area or a residence that's undergoing retrofits, look in the evening, the lights which still have the high pressure sodium and the metal halides versus the ones with LEDs. You will notice those ones with their heat sources, with the different color spectrum, attract all the bugs.
You're talking about the halogens.
Absolutely.
Or the high pressure sodium.
The high pressure sodium, halogens, whichever it is. LED attracts bugs far, far, far less.
It's a nice thing around here.
Which, if you're in a certain area and your neighbors are sticking to using the halogens and you're having bug problems, switch to LED.
Yeah. The bugs will go over there.
They're more inclined to go over there.
So we're talking about upgrading, and, some people have house-by-house budget, but it's better to do as much upgrading with LEDs at once as you can because you're going to see more savings, bigger bang for your buck.
Sure.
We do light design.
We do light design
at Southern Lighting Solutions, and if it's a large enough project, we do have a team that'll get it done even quicker.
We have a team of 35 in-house designers.
Right.
And engineers that will get this done.
So, even if we're talking about a house, you would be surprised at, the fact that, especially for higher end homes with a lot more surface area, coming in and doing a light design for that might actually be in your benefit.
Yes, especially because, with wealthier clientele, in general, or people just, building their homes that want to do something creative, something different, if they've worked with the developer, with the builder, with the interior designer. Interior designers, they can come up with some crazy ideas.
Sure.
They don't tell you how to implement it. And, we've run into this situation a couple times so far where the contractor looks at the drawing and says, what? How exactly do I do this?
Right.
And, that's where we excel. I mean, chances are, and I won't say it's 100%, but chances are, if this has been done before, no matter what a designer comes up with, creativity, we've done it.
Right.
We have a solution for it.
And that's another thing we have experience.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, where strip is concerned, let me tell you, those profiles, they can do a lot.
Right. So give us, let's get into a couple of examples here. And I want to start with light design and kind of start with light design and then say, we ended up using a strip profile because it matched what we wanted to do.
Well, okay, we'll take an example. There was a project down in New Orleans.
Okay.
Where the end user had a product which was completely out of budget. They were trying to get the candela or lumens and lux that they needed on the ground in the area, and they only had this fixture to use it. And this fixture was about $100 a foot.
Right.
And designer came to us and said, "Can you please help us with this solution?" And we told them, well, we put in our program, we drew it up, and we used a specialized profile with a strip light, and tilted in a certain way and angled in a certain way and hidden where they need it. And not only did we achieve the same lux levels that they needed, we exceeded it. And instead of it being $100 per foot, $25 a foot to do this.
So we provided not only the solution to their problem,
absolutely,
but a more efficient solution that was cheaper.
More efficient, more power savings. Off the bat, we went not just below their budget, we went way below what they had in mind. So they were very happy with that.
Right, but at first they were asking questions, weren't they? They were like, wait a minute, how'd you do that?
Experience.
Well, right.
And the software doesn't lie.
Exactly. And I remember you talking about this project, and, a couple of the things that you had found was like they didn't have the paint on the walls input correctly.
Yeah. I mean, the software, if you just put it by yourself, and this is why we asked for all these details, and they were like, well, why do you need all of this? Well, because the RAL number, the color of the walls, the material on the floor, they were using a porcelain on the floor.
Right.
And a porcelain has a certain reflectance to it.
Sure.
So we know which one it is. We took all of that, we inputted in, and we gave them, a 90% accurate representation of what needed to be done. And when it was finally installed, all of a sudden you found that the lux levels that the software we had put up, because we had done it properly, and the lux that they had in reality was off by 2%, 3%, which is accurate.
Yeah. And well within the
well within there. They were awfully surprised.
Sure.
And this was just in the initial section that was we had to do as a proof of concept.
Right.
Will this actually, before we go and spend X amount for this entire project that we have, can you prove it'll work? Can you put your money where your mouth is? Absolutely.
Sure. And we can do that. We'll be talking next week about commercial and the week after industrial, but we can do that at any level.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, with our team, in-house designers, etc., with the vast amount of experience that we have, I mean, our team has designed small little, getaway houses, vacation houses, all the way up to 400-room 5-star hotels.
Sure.
So it's all in the realm of possible. I mean, we've seen it all.
Right. And the important thing about, especially when you get down to the quality of the fixture and what you're looking to use, it's important to remember that, especially with LED, you've got different color variants, different temperatures. And it doesn't all have to be just crazy bright, white, stark white light.
Sure. I mean, we've talked about this, it can be 2,500 Kelvin all the way to 6,000. Now, one of the cool things we've started seeing where prices have really come down on the technology, on the chips, on the strip, on the light sources, I guess, in general, is what we call dim to warm or color tuning, where the same chip can go from 2,000 Kelvin all the way up to 6,000 Kelvin.
Right.
Now, where we've tried this out, as you know, and it's really cool, is where nurseries and preschools and children's rooms are concerned, because the light can be adapted and tuned to fall in with human circadian rhythm.
Right.
And let me tell you, it's there's nothing better to get a child that's had too much orange juice or bouncing all over the place to calm down when you dim down those lights without them realizing it. Just do it gradually over time. Ready for nap time. So you go from a 4,000 or 5,000 color Kelvin color all the way down to 2,200. They naturally fall asleep because it plays with the mind to think, oh, it's sunset, it's night, you know what? I'm ready to sleep.
Right.
They go to sleep, and you slowly bring that color back up. So even if they wake up again, they go for the nap at 2 p.m. and they wake up at 3, when they wake up again, now back up to 4,000 or 5,000. Oh, it's daylight.
Right.
Get up and go.
Time to get up.
Time to get up and go. And the same is being applied in various places. It's still under testing in a place, but it's had very positive response in schools.
Right.
With comparison between classes and children that was done, where they were using the old-fashioned 6,000 versus 4,000 versus 3,000 color lighting, and in almost all cases, the children that were in the light, which was 4,000 Kelvin, outperformed. They were more alert, more efficient. The ones who were in the 3,000 were ready to go to sleep, and then 6,000 was a normal. It's almost like your placebo effect, if you will.
Sure. So obviously color temperature matters. That's why I wanted to bring it up, especially in the home, because you've got to be cognizant of that, because you don't just want stark white hospital everywhere.
No. I mean, a kitchen has a certain color code to follow. Living room has a certain color code to follow. Bedrooms have a certain color code to follow, and that's what's cool with the adaptive light, I guess, if you want to call it, or the dim to warm, is during the day your bedroom can be 4,000, and then at night when you're ready to settle down, you just switch it down to a warmer tone,
Right.
and it sets the mood for sleeping.
Right. So obviously, we here have the experience, and our designers have the experience to understand what each room needs, especially as you're talking about
Sure.
color codes and things of that nature. Last thing I want to talk about in terms of residential is just kind of a warning. We're doing this podcast to be informative.
Sure.
We brag on ourselves from time to time, but we want people to understand what's going on with LED lights because we feel like the market here is just behind. So kind of want to educate people. And so what I'm bringing up here is actually talking about a batten.
Yeah.
That was, that we found out that had been purchased from a local retailer. We're not naming names. We're not getting into that. What we are doing with this last portion of this podcast is we want people to be forewarned that in a lot of cases, especially if you're buying things, that you need to be careful. You're not entirely sure what's been put into that fixture.
Yeah, I mean, but again, this falls under the retailers, unfortunately. I mean, consumers are not really going to open, nor are they going to understand what's happening inside here. And, unfortunately with this, I mean, fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you look at it, we've had a lot of success just replacing the drivers with proper drivers.
Right.
Because unfortunately, they're using a driver which is just such bad quality.
Right.
And when people don't realize, and we weren't made aware of this until one of our own employees
Right.
came and said, can you, I have had these installed and they just both went out randomly. And when we opened them, it was shocking. And, given how much they paid for it.
Right. Not only how much they paid for it, but just the quality of what was on the inside. So what we saw was we took the driver out. Not only was it in a sort of not a good metal casing for
it was the non-isolated drivers, what would be the more technical term.
Sure. And breaking that down, it means the metal wasn't exactly up to standard, and it was surrounded by cardboard.
It was cardboard, yeah.
And it was pretty unbelievable. Plus the capacitors and things on it, looked like something that IBM might have used when they were making the first computers.
Sure.
So it's just important to understand that in a lot of cases, when it doesn't have to be us, but when you're buying from retailers or you're buying from wholesale, it's important to understand, and we're pretty upfront. If you watch our Workbench series, which we're about to go do one about Monument, I've said it before, that could be a garage light, but you'll get to see if you check out our Workbench episode on it.
Yeah, and I mean, we have using the Monument as an example, we have 3 different products. For we have a Monument and we have our Bright-Tite, which are both essentially the same item.
Right.
Differences: one of them costs $40.
Right.
Another one costs $70, and the third one costs $150.
Right.
As basis. So they will all 3 will do the same thing, essentially. The difference is how long they will last, how good they will look, how durable they are. I mean, they're all going to last the warranties, and we stand by our warranties, and we stand by our products. But what differs is the components going on the inside.
Sure.
One of them is fully made from Asian components.
Right.
There's we're not going to hide that fact. And the other one is made completely from American components.
Right.
And American components and Italian components.
Right. So we can mix and match. We do recommend you go check out that Workbench series, because that's what I was going to say is we open these things up and we show you exactly what's inside of them.
Yep.
And as Tarek mentioned, we have warranties that we stand by, and we will replace products. So again, Mr. Tarek, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were here today talking about residential lighting. We do offer that. We have several lines and we do have some commercial lights that can be used in residential instances, but we do have architectural lighting as well. My name is McHugh David, also a co-founder of Southern Lighting Solutions. Appreciate you guys joining us today. Gonna make some new requests. Please go like us on Facebook and LinkedIn. We are there. If you like this podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate that. And we will be back next week. We're going to be talking about commercial applications.
Absolutely.
With LED lighting, getting a little more specific than we've been in previous podcasts. We hope you have a great day. See you next time on the Get Lit podcast.
Get lit.
Get lit.